Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar training on the Microsoft Teams platform. This is our second conference session, and we would invite you to go to our website to see the first one. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Today's session is being recorded, and everyone's been placed on a mute during the presentation. We'll be taking questions during and after the presentation via the chat application in the Teams platform. A little bit of introduction about ZAACT Consulting. We are a local Utah-based company here in Sandy, Utah. We help customers enhance productivity and create better work experiences from their technology investment, like Microsoft. All of our architects, developers, designers, analysts, and project managers are passionate Microsoft experts who bring both innovative approaches and best practice methodologies to all of our client partnerships. We're here to help you get the most from your productivity tools like Office 365 and Teams. We're here to show you how to organize, share, and secure your documents and information with tools like SharePoint and Modern Pages Internet portals. We can help build powerful dashboards in Power BI as well as other complementary technologies to make sure that you are getting the most out of your technology spend and helping you to automate your processes and increase communication. We're excited to have you join us today and learn more about this powerful tool. I want to introduce our presenter, Elissa Smith. Elissa has been a software applications facilitator for over 20 years. She has also been a technical writing consultant and an adjunct instructor at Davis Technology College, as well as Weber State University. She has taught classes for big corporations like Nike and local companies like Lifetime Products. She loves teaching and traveling and spending time with her dysfunctional dog and family. And with that, I'll turn the time over to Elissa.
I am here, guys. That's the good news. Darren was getting worried. I'm just kidding. No, really appreciate everybody being here. I want to just really briefly let you know what our focus on today's event's going to be. Last week, we really talked about basics of Teams, and we're not going to be going into that content again. As Darren mentioned, you can go to the ZAACT Consulting website and get that content there because it's recorded, as this one's going to be recorded as well. Our focus today is going to be the virtual meetings that you can host in Teams. It's becoming so important with the pandemic. A lot of us are really having to amp up how many virtual meetings we're having. And of course, Teams is one of the places a lot of those meetings are happening. So we want to talk about ways that you can make those meetings even more productive. And then we're going to look at some applications that are Microsoft, of course, but you can bring into your Teams to really help customize the Teams experience. One of them is Planner. And Planner is actually becoming Tasks next month. They're actually updating the name. And then Forms, which is another Microsoft application. All of these tools, the thing I love about them is that they're really fairly easy to use. And again, as Darren mentioned, as you have questions come up, you can pop those into the chat of Teams. Good way to find the chat is if you hover your mouse towards the bottom of this Teams meeting room that we're using, you will see a toolbar populate, and the chat button is the third one in from the right. You're going to see a red telephone, the two heads, and then it looks like a sticky note with a white border around it, and that will open up the chat. And we actually have Aubrey Bowman from ZAACT Consulting, who's helping to moderate those questions, and really appreciate her doing that. It's a huge help. And then at the end as well, we'll take about 5 to 7 minutes. And the one caveat I say with the questions is we'll make sure we end on time. I always try to make double sure I end on time because I know how very precious time is to everybody, especially on a Friday. But if we do need to go over with Q&A, we will. And those of you that need to leave at the top of the hour are more than welcome. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to jump into what we're going to be talking today, and that's going to be starting in meetings. So really our breakdown, we're going to spend a little bit more time in meetings than we do in Planner and Forms because I feel like there's more utility there. I am going to be changing my screen share. I'm going to be demonstrating from a computer with a user by the name of Megan. So if I talk about Megan, just know she's the person whose computer you're going to be seeing here in just a moment. I want to make sure we get her up on her desktop. And again, we're not going to be talking about basics here. We're really going to be talking about once you're in Teams, how do you make productive meetings? But again, a reminder on that Teams logo, what it looks like. And you know, the beauty of Teams is that it's available in so many different versions right now. You've got the mobile version that can go on your cell phone, so your Android or your iPhone. You've got the web app that will also work within a web browser. But my favorite one, and I like to tell people really the one that you're probably going to have the best success with if you're working on your normal work computer, is going to be the desktop application. And that's the one that we're going to be showing you today. But do know those other ones are available. And honestly, when I travel, when I do training where I'm having to be on site at customer locations, that's the one I like to use because it's in my pocket on my cell phone. So let's talk about when it comes to virtual meetings. And the first thing I want to look at is being able to just get to an instant meeting. Now, sometimes we don't think of those instances when we have video chats and audio chats in Teams on the fly as being a meeting, but really they are. So for example, let's say that I instigate a chat with my coworker, Patty, for example. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new chat, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to, again, send a chat to Patty. And again, we're not talking about chats, but we're looking at how you can take a chat and escalate it. And this is something that we briefly looked at in the last session, but really what we want to look at here is the power that can happen when you're in a chat. And right now what I'm trying to do is make sure that Patty's going to be awake and helping me out here. Sorry for the momentary break. We make sure that Patty's around. While Patty's computer is deciding to catch up with me, let's go ahead, guys, and I'm going to kind of segue into a different section before we meet with Patty. So let's go ahead and take a peek at the calendar view. We'll come back and do the chat thing in just a minute because I'm seeing that Patty's computer's decided that it wants to go to sleep and I need it to wake up. So I'm going to go ahead and get it to wake up here in just a second. So you know what, from this calendar view, sometimes people forget that you can also use this as a way to jump into instant meetings. One of my favorite buttons in here is in the top right, which is the Meet Now button. And this is, again, a way to quickly get into a meeting of one, and then you invite coworkers to it. So right here, you're seeing that I'm coming in and I've got, of course, my coworker here. And right now it's just Megan, but when I click on the Join Now button, of course, it's going to go in. And normally you don't see the little Windows Defender thing. That's something that these virtual environments do. Now, right now, Megan is by herself, but if Megan wants to invite a coworker into this meeting, and again, it's going to be an instant meeting that we're looking at here, she can come right up here to the top and she could go ahead and invite a coworker to join her. Now, she could come in and just start typing in coworker names. And you'll see, for example, here she's got Nestor, who's one of her coworkers that she wants to just ask to come into this. And this could be a video chat or an audio chat, either one. And again, it's not scheduled, it's just instant, which is exactly what we want to have happen at this juncture because we want to be able to just create a meeting on the fly, as we call it. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and click on Nestor. Now you'll see that it tells me that it's calling Nestor. And what I want to do really briefly is show you what it looks like on Nestor's end. For some of you that maybe haven't seen this, you can see here how he's getting a call from Megan, and it's asking him how he can join. He can decide whichever one he wants, okay? And then on Megan's end, you can hear the ringing sound as well. Once he accepts it, instead of saying calling, it will say accept. So I'm going to go in and have Nestor get into this call. We can see him that he's trying to join. Gotta love these virtual computers. Right now they're being a little bit naughty. Sorry guys, I'm gonna get him in there. Just a second. There we go. Now this is what it looks like for Nestor, but now if we go back into our buddy Megan, let me get back into Megan. We can now see that Nestor's joined. All right, so that's an instant meeting that we're having with each other. Now, a couple of things that we can do when we're in an instant meeting like this one, even though it's not scheduled, you still have a lot of the same tools that you would have in a scheduled virtual meeting. So first of all, notice that down at the bottom, we can always open up the previous chats that we've had. So right now, Megan and Nestor haven't had a lot of chats, but if they had, we would see those. Additionally, another thing that I can do is come to the three dots button. This is going to open up many different options. One of them is that I can actually come in and turn on closed captions. This is a fairly new tool. You'll see here that it says it's in preview. I'm going to see if it's working. Sometimes in these training tenets it works, sometimes it doesn't. A couple of caveats to the live captions. They do not work when you're recording a meeting right now. Unfortunately, that's something that they're still working on. And also, they only work in English, but they're telling us by the end of this calendar year, they're going to have several other languages up. But this is great for someone that's hearing impaired. And what you do is you just click on this and the bottom of the meeting will open up. And what you'll see is that the closed captioning will actually start playing at the bottom. So especially if someone's working in a really loud environment, this is really nice because they can actually read the meeting rather than try to hear it. And again, for someone who may be hearing impaired, this can be a huge win. It's about 95% accurate. And of course, if you slow down and speak more clearly, it helps, right? But just notice that I can do this even when I'm in an instant meeting. Now, moving forward, another thing that I can do, and I'm going to turn that closed captioning off by clicking back on the three dots and say turn off live captions, is I can also, of course, screen share, right? Even in a meeting that is not being recorded. For that, I'm again going to come down to that toolbar. And for those of you that are in our training, this is the chat button where you can actually post chats for this training to get questions moderated and answered during our event. Now, when it comes to screen sharing, there's three primary places that you can share from in a Microsoft Teams meeting. The first one is your desktop, and this is going to give you the most comprehensive experience. The reason I say that is if you are sharing an application like, say, for example, Microsoft Excel, and you're trying to show someone how to create a chart and you're going to be opening up a lot of additional windows within Excel, you'd want to make sure you share your desktop because all those additional windows would show. If you just come in and show your window, it would only show the spreadsheet. Any additional windows that you open wouldn't show. So that's something to keep in mind when it comes to doing screen sharing. The other thing that is kind of a catch for people is if you're showing a video, for example, you want to make sure that you check this box that says include system audio. Otherwise, there will be no audio with your video clip. Now, you can also come in and share a file via PowerPoint. The other thing that's in here is the whiteboard. And this is basically, as the name implies, a whiteboard where people can come in and it will actually launch the Microsoft Whiteboard application that's part of Office 365. You can see here how it's just asking me what I want to do here. When it opens up, okay, it's actually telling me that I could go in and get it. But in this case, we're not going to do that. So we're going to go ahead and stop presenting for right now. But it opens up a whiteboarding area where you can actually have multiple people in your meeting actually whiteboard together. Very similar for those of you that may have used Skype for Business. There was a whiteboarding portion in Skype for Business. But what I want to show you is just the PowerPoint because it's pretty easy to work with. So right here, I'm going to click on Browse. Now, speaking of Teams being an application that reaches into a lot of other parts of Microsoft Office 365, we're seeing some of that right now because I could get a PowerPoint that's already loaded into one of my teams, or I could get a PowerPoint that's in my OneDrive for Business. This is pretty exciting to me because this is where you look at an individual worker being able to take something that they've worked with in their own cloud storage and now bring it in and share it with a coworker. And that's exactly what I'm going to have in this case, Megan do. She's going to go into her OneDrive. She's going to find one of her PowerPoints that she's been working on and share it with her coworker. And we'll see here that it uploads it and actually brings it into what we call the stage area of this impromptu meeting that we're having with each other. Now, a couple of things. When you first bring in a PowerPoint, normally the different attendees or people in the meeting can scroll through the slides on their own discretion. So that means that I could be on one slide and Nestor could be on a different slide. But in the middle of this presenting toolbar, you're going to see what looks like an eyeball. It's kind of hard to see it when I'm hovering on it. If you go to that eyeball and click on it, a notification is going to show up here at the top that tells us that private viewing is being disabled, which means that other people in the session cannot go through those slides on their own. So if I'm in a formal training, sometimes I tend to lock down my slides, especially if I'm dealing with college or high school students, just so that they cannot progress through those slides until I'm ready for them to. And of course, it lets them know, and they can dismiss this notification. To turn it off, I would just come right back and click on the eyeball, and then we would be able to do private viewing again, where we could be on separate slides. Then when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and click on the hang up button. So that's an example of an impromptu meeting. And because there were only 2 people in that audio call, it automatically hangs Nestor up when I hang up because there's no one else in the call to keep him on the line. And again, the great thing about any of those audio calls and video chats that you do in Teams is that they don't require you to have any special software on your computer because everything is using VoIP, voice over IP. And so all you need is Teams, right? Now, what about scheduled meetings? For this, we want to take a peek at the calendar. Probably my second favorite thing in Teams. And I know it's like, really, a calendar, but the thing that a lot of people get the first time they come in here is they're like, wait a minute, this looks like my Outlook calendar events. And it's a big win for people because they realize that your Outlook calendar and your Teams calendar synchronize with each other, which is really powerful because we're not having to spend so much time going into Outlook. If we're already in Teams, it's here. Now, unfortunately, and this is a question I get a lot, so I like to mention this, it is not going to bring in any shared calendars or group calendars at this time. That's something that's on Microsoft's development stack. Right now, it's just your own calendar events that you're going to see here. So when it comes to adding a new calendar event, I just want to go through this briefly. If you haven't taken some time to kind of break this down, when you add a new meeting to your Teams calendar, it's going to be similar to Outlook, but again, a little bit different. So first of all, we've got time zone, right? Are we heading to California or are we going to stay, you can set your time zone. This would be for you, okay? Then of course I can add my name for this event. Now I'm going to bring in my attendees. Now, first, I'm just going to bring in people from inside my organization. These do not have to be members of my team. These are just people inside my company that I'm typing in here. Now, a good one to remember, as many of you are already starting to work with, you can bring in external parties, and this is a huge win. So if I'm working with a subcontractor or maybe a partner, I can bring them in by just sending the invite to their email. And what you'll see here is that as soon as Microsoft Teams recognizes this is not an internal Office 365 account, it will notify itself that it's an outside email, but it can send this same meeting invite that I am creating to that person. They'll get an email with all the meeting invite information within it, including the link to join the Teams meeting. Now, underneath, another great thing that starts happening is I'm seeing Microsoft Teams actually suggest times for me when this event can happen. Now, I'm more into having this meeting happen on Monday, so we'll see that the meeting times change. If you want to see this in more detail, you can come up here to the top. You're going to see a scheduling assistant, and right here in the scheduling assistant area, this is straight from Outlook, right? We're seeing when this meeting could be held when people are available. And so I can actually come in and make changes until I find a time and slot that will work. Now, we're not done yet because back on the details tab, a couple of other things that I can do is set up a repetition on the meeting, and then I can actually take this meeting and have it be posted into a specific channel of one of my teams. And this is something I'd like to do. In my sales and marketing team, just in my general channel, I'd like to have this be mentioned so that my entire team knows about it. It doesn't mean they have to attend, but it also allows for them to get quick access to the meeting. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is come down here and type some details about this particular meeting that I want them to see from the meeting invite itself. So I can just add these, and these will actually be in the body of the meeting invite or in the email if you look at it inside of Outlook. And I can't talk and type at the same time, guys. So sorry, that's why I get quiet when I start typing. It's just a skill I don't think I'm ever going to master in my life. Right, now we've got all the information. Finally, we're ready to send this off. The thing I want you to see after the meeting has been created, if you remember, I mentioned that it would be put into the specific channel of the sales and marketing team. So let's take a peek at that. I'm going to come here to my Teams view, and I'm going to go into my sales and marketing team, into the channel, and click. And right here, you'll see that the very first thing I see, the most recent item that's been posted to the channel, is both the action items and the meeting. And here's the neat thing, from this area of the channel, when I click on this, it actually takes me to the meeting invitation. And it includes a join button up here on the top so that I could join from here. Additionally, if I scroll down in the middle of the meeting invite, we'll see the link to the meeting as well that I could use. Now back on the home front in Outlook, right? If we go back to good old Outlook, because we have to remember that Outlook and Teams are partner apps. And I've gone ahead and gone right into my my calendar view, because that's really where we want to focus here for the next little bit. When we come into the calendar view, you're going to see that on the dates that I asked for that particular meeting to be focused on. And for this one, let's go ahead and go to the day view just so that we can see this more easily. Right here, I have that same meeting that I just created in Teams, the M600 updates meeting. And if I double click on it, it's going to take me right into that meeting invite. And the reason I want you to see this is just to see, you know, if I create it in Teams, this is what it looks like. If I create it in Outlook, this is what it looks like. And again, you'll see that it does tell us that what's interesting here is that the organizer was the sales and marketing team. And that's because that's where it actually came from, because it was posted into that particular channel and also team. Also notice the different action items that were added. And finally down here, that same link to join the meeting. And additionally, the link up here. Now there's another exciting thing, and I just clicked on that to join the meeting, but I don't want to quite do that yet. Sorry, I got excited. That I want to show you when you're in Outlook and you're in that particular meeting. Once the meeting has been sent to your, to the people that you are sending to your attendees, we're going to come right here, and you can do this either from Teams or from Outlook. There's an option in here called meeting options. I'm going to use the word options a lot here. When you click on this, it's going to take you into your internet, into your default browser, and open up an area called the meeting options. And I think this is important to know because they're adding new features to this area. They just added some new stuff about a week ago. First of all, notice a lobby. So all of us know what virtual meeting lobbies are, right? Where you get to hear the bad hold music and wait for the meeting organizer to let you in. Notice right here, I can determine who's going to be able to bypass the lobby and who can't. So for example, people in my org are okay. Am I going to let callers, those would be people calling in, bypass the lobby? Do I want people to be announced when they come or leave? So these settings really help, again, you to keep your meeting organized in a way that's going to help you, be more comfortable as the one that's helping to run the meeting. Who can present? This would be who can share their screen. Notice I could set it to just people in my organization, and then I can save those, again, settings. And this is something you do after the meeting has already been sent to the people who were invited to it. And when you're done doing that, you can go ahead and just click on the X, and it would take you back to whatever browser tab was open ahead of time. Now back in Outlook again, if I wanted to join this meeting, even though it's not going to be until Monday, let's say that I want to join ahead of time and do a couple things to get it ready. I can say join Teams meeting. And again, I love how it takes me directly from my Outlook meeting invite into Teams. I don't have to click on any extra buttons or wait for anything. It's just an immediate takes me in. Now let's say that I'd like to get a few things ready for the meeting. So I'm in the meeting by myself right now, but just as we did previously in that instant meeting, I'm going to ask a couple of my coworkers to come in and join me. I'm going to try my buddy Patty again. We'll see if her computer's going to happy up here. It's been really, really quiet. And if Patty can't call, and you can see how it's telling me it's calling her, we've always got Nestor. And Nestor isn't in the meeting yet, but we'll go ahead and bring him in just so we're not lonely. We'll have two of us in here. So I'm going to go ahead, and when I click on Nestor's name, you'll see 3 dots at the right. And then what this will do is it will notify Nestor that I'm asking him to join the meeting. So now on Nestor's end, what I'm going to see here is he's got lots of things. Let's go ahead and have him leave that one and join this one. He's very popular today. So Nestor's now coming into my meeting, and you can see here how Megan's cute smiling face is there. Now, one of the reasons I'm not doing video chats with these virtual computers is because we can't, because you can't have fake computers do fake video chats. So that's why you're not seeing us demo the video, is in these virtual environments, we can't do that. Now back in Megan's computer, let's get back to her. Let's talk about some of the things that Nestor and I could do while we're in this meeting, maybe with the idea that we're going to go ahead and record the meeting so that our coworkers that can't come to it can watch that recording later on. For that, I'm going to come back to the ellipses in the middle of the toolbar at the bottom of my meeting. Sometimes people call this the share tray. When I come to those three dots, I have an option to, you'll see here, start recording. And again, a meeting will never be recorded until you instigate it. And it will also tell you that when you're done with the recordings don't actually get stored in Microsoft Teams. They get stored in an application called Microsoft Stream. Hopefully some of you are already using Stream. And again, at the top, you always see the notification so that legally everybody knows they're getting recorded, right? So right now, the only thing that's really going to let me know that the recording's going on is that I do see a little red recording button now next to the time in the meeting. But you know, the beauty of this is everything that you do gets recorded. Yes, the good, the bad, the ugly, the bad hair days, all that stuff. But think about how useful this can be when not everyone can attend your meetings. So a couple of additional things we could do. Let's say that I would like to share something with a team member while I'm in here. I'm going to click back on the share button. And this time I just want to show something that's inside of my Outlook. So I'm just going to click on that, and it will actually, in this case, just show this window. But an interesting thing that can happen when I'm in this view is, let's just show you what it looks like on Nestor's side really briefly so you can see what it looks like for him. This is what my coworker Nestor is seeing, right? You can see that he's actually seeing the same window. And something interesting that can happen at this point is we can see here at the top the little policy telling me that we're recording. He's going to dismiss that. You can see that he's going to see everything that I'm doing on my end as well, right? And again, because we're recording this, everyone is seeing it. Now we're back in Megan's computer again. Let's say that we're done with that screen share. I'm going to come right down here and click on the stop sharing button, but we're still inside the meeting, okay? Now additionally, let's say that a coworker sends me a notification that they would like me to send them the details of the meeting because maybe they can join in a few minutes. While we're here in the meeting, I'm going to go back to the ellipses and come in and notice that I have an option to show meeting details. This will just pop open all the details that were included in the actual meeting invite and give me an option to copy those to my office clipboard. Then while I'm still in the meeting with Nestor, we're still recording, we're doing the dance, I'm going to come up and click on a new chat button. It's going to minimize my meeting but keep me in it, allow me to find my coworker, and then send her. I'm going to paste all those details right into the body of the chat, and it will send it to her. And then I can come back here, click once to return to my meeting. So I stayed in the meeting the entire time. Now, additionally, another feature we have in here is the ability to keep notes for our meeting in a thing called a wiki. And the wiki is actually something that we talked about in last week's training. But what I'm going to do is go back to the three dots again and come right here to show meeting notes. Now, unfortunately, this isn't OneNote. Maybe eventually it will be, but for right now, it's something very similar to a wiki. And a wiki is set up to kind of be like a notes page where you have headings and subheadings. The neat thing about this, though, is that every member of the meeting can come in and help capture these notes. So notice right here that I can add different sections, and I can actually come in and type notes as we go. So I could add a second section here. And obviously, if I was running the meeting and I had other coworkers in here, I'd probably say, hey, Nestor, can you please help maintain the notes while we're in this meeting? But after the meeting is over, these notes will be connected with the meeting. So we'll see these notes again. The way you close this notes area, of course, is to click on the little X in the top right-hand corner. So really, the big takeaways is that this whole thing is being recorded. And because we want to be able to have some time in Planner and Forms, let's go ahead and we're going to stop the recording. So I'm just going to come right here and click on stop recording from the three dots. And I want you to see what it does. Once you've stopped recording, it will tell you that the recording is being saved. So you'll see right here this little notification at the top. It's telling us that the recording is being processed and put into Microsoft Stream. It's also going to be added to the meeting chat. So these are kind of some interesting things to take note of. The processing of the recording in Stream is not instant. If the meeting is several hours long, the processing is going to take several hours, because what Stream does is it actually takes the recording and publishes it as an MPEG-4 file, a video format, and then puts it into Stream. But because we're also in Teams, it's going to also post that video into Teams to make it more accessible. Now we're done, so we're going to go ahead and click on the hang up button and leave that, again, phone call that we were just having. Now here's an interesting thing. Nestor didn't hang up yet. So back in the channel, if you remember when we created this meeting, we had it posted in a channel. It's actually showing me that Nestor's still in the meeting and he's still hanging out in there. Now, once Nestor hangs up, which I'm going to have Nestor head out. Come on, Nestor, you can leave now. Once Nestor goes out, once we come back in and look, now you'll see that that notification that the meeting is ongoing is no longer there. So it's really showing us in the post tab of this channel these real-time, again, these real-time notifications about what the status of that meeting is and who's in it. Now, once the recording is done in Stream, you'll see right here that it will actually let us know. And you can see right now it's telling us what it's doing. So one of the other neat things that you really don't notice is that Microsoft Teams is notifying you about what the status of things are with that meeting recording constantly. When it gets done, we'll come back in so that you can see it. All right. But what I want to do now is switch gears and talk about all the other stuff besides meetings that we're trying to keep track of. And we're talking about tasks. One of the most frustrating things for a lot of people with Microsoft right now is all the different places where tasks can be put. We've got Outlook tasks that have been around for decades. We have the to-do app, we have Planner, we have Microsoft Project, we have even other applications that aren't part of Microsoft where tasks can be put. And Microsoft acknowledges that. Now, because in a lot of companies, when it comes to tasks, people are even keeping track of task lists in Excel. We know that not every group that is trying to keep track of tasks needs Microsoft Project. In fact, I would say probably only 5 to 10% really do. And if you've ever used Project, I do training on Project, it's its own beast, right? It has its own issues. It's not bad, but it's just a totally different world. Microsoft created another application called Microsoft Planner. Now, as I mentioned at the very beginning of our session, Planner is actually getting a new name. Starting next month, they're going to be renaming it just tasks. Okay, so it's getting a new name, and the idea is instead of having Outlook tasks and to-do tasks and planner tasks, the new tasks app will take all those locations and bring them into one central place that will look a lot like Planner. So we're going to be showing you Planner today because that new tasks app has not yet been launched, but keep the idea in the back of your heads that it's going to look a lot like Planner. But I just want you to see what Planner looks like before we actually bring one in. And what I have here is actually a Planner that's already been brought in, so you can kind of get a preview of what it looks like, and then we'll bring one in. So everything appears on what are called boards. In fact, this is the board view. And sorry, guys, we've only been here for half an hour, so you can't be bored yet. So remember, keep posting your questions to the chat of our training, and Aubrey's going to be trying to help go through some of those. And we'll save a few minutes at the end as well. But you'll see that for every task, I see a separate board. And as I scroll over, there are more. So here's the takeaway with Planner. It's very visual and it's very simple. There are no Gantt charts, there are no resource lists, there are no cost tracking involved. It's about seeing a task and being able to quickly understand what it is and how far progressed it is. If I go to any task, I can click on it and that task will open up in a larger box where I can come in and notice I can decide on its progress, and there are only 3. I can also set a priority for it. I can also add checklists. I can add attachments, and down here at the bottom, I can even add comments. So there is quite a bit of detail, but it's very much task oriented. The other thing you're seeing here is that we have tags on these tasks. This is a way to basically create your own categories for these tasks, and you can assign multiple tasks to a specific, again, tag, and then you can filter by those. Now, speaking of being able to add new tasks, notice right here at the top, I have an add task. I can set a due date on it. And really, to do this, you only need three things: a task name, a due date, and then you assign it to the fellow team member who's going to do it. And again, if your org allows you to have external parties in, you could assign it to an external party, right? And I can actually assign a task to more than one person. That was a fairly new feature not that long ago. Now, what about seeing these tasks in different ways? Because the default view is for them to be viewed based on the bucket they're originally assigned to. So I want to show you two different options to keep them in buckets but view them in different ways. The first one is the group by bucket. Right now they're in their default buckets, these boards that they're in. But when I click on this arrow, notice that a really great one that I've had a lot of managers tell me they use is the assigned to bucket. I love this one because it shows each individual team member at the top as the bucket assignment and then what task each team member has. This would let a manager go in and quickly see who's doing what and who doesn't have a lot going on, right? Another way that I can also come in and group by is based on those labels that I showed you that you can actually assign to the tasks on the right-hand side, the little colored labels. So now we're seeing each label, and then we're seeing our tasks divided out by those label types. And again, this is just sorting or grouping. It is not changing taking any of the tasks out. Sorry, I couldn't spit that one out. There's also a priority where you can set a medium, a low, and important on your tasks. Now, another option that you have as well is filtering. For filtering, we of course are going to pick a specific thing. And in this case, I want to show you by those labels. So if you remember those labels that you can assign on the side of the task, I can come in here and let's see if the labels are going to behave themselves. Just a second. Sorry, I've got to scroll down a little bit. Oh, hopefully you guys can see this. I just got a notification that the recording of our meeting is almost done. So here in just a minute, I'm going to take you in so that you can see that. But what I wanted you to see here with the labels is here I can see them. I had to scroll down a little bit to see all of them. I'm going to pick the keynote presentation label. Okay, and then you'll notice that the only tasks I now see are the ones that have been assigned that specific label. To turn that filter off, we just go back up and say clear. Now, in addition to these bucket views, my favorite view by far in Planner is the charts view. Think of this as like a dashboard for the plan. At the top, you're going to have a chart showing you the status of the tasks based on whether they're in progress or late, then the bucket that they're in. And again, this is based on the current view, okay? Then on the right, if you scroll down, you're seeing a list of all the tasks. As a manager, or say someone who's trying to manage the project, I could quickly come in and say, you know what? This one just got done, and we could go ahead and mark things as complete. This view is great to just get an overview of the, again, plan very quickly and come in and update it. Okay, and then we even have a view down at the bottom where we can see each individual team member and what their progress is. Now, the third view is the schedule view. And the schedule view is going to let you see, a calendar view. So for those of us that dragged our Franklin Coveys around with us 20 years ago, this is kind of the shout out to all of us that are still attached to our calendars. And if you click on the specific day, then it lets you see all the different tasks going on that day. And there is a month view and a week view. Now with Planner, how do you bring a new plan into any of your channels? And this is kind of the thing that we want to get to with Planner. How did we bring this plan in here in the first place? Do know that this plan had already been created and then we brought it into our team, which is something you can do in the different channels of your team. For right here, I'm going to go ahead and go to this digital assets channel of the Mark 8 project team, and I'd like to start creating a plan where all the members of my team can come and see the tasks that we're trying to get accomplished. And we're going to come right here to the tabs at the top of the channel that we want to add this particular plan to. Click on the plus sign. And you'll notice here that the add a tab box pops up. Now in a lot of organization, this is tricky territory because you're going to see that down here I have a lot of applications that are not actually part of Microsoft. And also, if you're in the government, so anyone who's working for a college or university, anyone who's working for state offices or federal groups or the military, it's much more limited because you guys are not part of the commercial tenant. But do know Microsoft is continuing to add new stuff all the time. But in a lot of organizations, you may be limited to the first 2 rows that you see here because these are, for the most part, Microsoft applications. So that's what we're going to stick with. So in this case, we're going to bring in Planner. And you'll notice that it brings up, okay, you're adding a new Planner tab. Now, if you did have an existing plan that had already been created, notice this would allow me to bring it in. But I want us to look at how to bring in one that doesn't yet exist. So we're going to say create a new plan. We're going to go ahead and call it Digital Assets Tracking. Now, when my new plan comes in, it will be empty, and I'll have one bucket called the to-do bucket. But here's the big benefit. It's now here. My team members will not have to go outside to get to it. So right here, I'm going to go ahead, and I can just start typing the very first task. I can set a due date and just start to rock and roll right here inside of Teams and start assigning my team members. Notice how it's even already showing me their names to that task. And every team member that has access to this channel will be able to get to this plan. Now, what if I wanted to work with the plan not inside of Teams? Right here in the top right-hand corner, you're going to see that you have different options. One of them is to go to the website. If I do this, it actually takes me to Planner inside inside of any web browser. So this is what the plan would actually look like outside of Teams. But do know that the plan is, again, part of the team, giving all the team members access to it from inside Teams. But I could also update it here inside of the Planner app. And some people do create plans outside of Teams. They don't have to be part of your team and part of your channel for you to access them. Because as you'll see here, again in the top right-hand corner, left-hand corner, I've got my app launcher. So Planner is also part of Office 365. And if you have an Office 365 account and Planner's been turned on for you, you can use it outside of Teams. But I just wanted you to see how you could also do that trip. So big takeaways with Planner, it's not made to be a full-blown project management application. Microsoft already has that, and it's Microsoft Project. We don't need more. This one's meant to be simple. It's meant to be visual and easy to use. So those are a few things. Don't try to make Planner more than what it is, but do know that it's getting a big update next month. I can't say how soon you'll see those updates in your own organizations because they're actually renaming it to the Tasks app. But it's something to look forward to because getting tasks centralized, I think, is going to be a huge win. Now, in the last little bit of time that we have, we want to now look at another application called Microsoft Forms. And for this, I'm actually going to come up here and go to a different channel. And I'd like to add a form because there's a very important event coming in for my team. And I'd like my team to be able to go to a tab and answer these survey questions. Maybe it's very critical. So one way that I can surface a form of larger length, so not just one question, something that's, very important, is to come right here to, again, that add a tab box. And you'll see that Forms is going to be one of the options. Do know that Forms and Excel are buddies. Okay, the default storage for form responses is an Excel spreadsheet, and that is the case in Microsoft Teams. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. And of course, if I had an existing form, I could bring it in. Notice right here, it's telling me that I already have one, or I can create a new form. I want to go ahead and create a new one, okay? And what we're going to do here is just type in the name of this. It's going to be we're going to actually give it a different name. So after we name the form, we've got to build the questions. And again, when you think about online forms, hopefully some of you have answered some of these lately, you'll see that when the tab gets added, I'm in edit mode. And that's because I'm editing my form. Also in the top right-hand corner, notice you have a preview that would allow you to actually see the form and play with it in its finished view. The theme button actually allows you to come in. Microsoft has some preset themes. These are fairly new that you can apply to your form to kind of make it look cool, make everybody excited. All right. When I click on that button again, it closes that area. So I need to now come in and start adding some questions. So basic choices when we click on Add New are I can have multiple choice, text, a rating like 1 to 10, okay, a date. So I'm going to start with just a couple of multiple choice. And we're going to do like 3 questions because I'm sure you guys don't want to sit here and watch me type. Now, one nice thing that Microsoft will do at this point is they'll actually say, looking at the type of information that you're typing, probably because of the would you part, there is an algorithm saying, hey, I bet she wants yes, no, or maybe. And I can say add all, and it will automatically add these options to my form. Additionally, up here, notice I could copy that question, create a duplicate of it, delete it, or right here, I can actually bring in an image to go with it. For the sake of time, though, we're not going to go ahead and do that. So let's add another one. Okay, this one we'll do text. And notice with this one that right now it's set to be a short answer. I can also make it long answer and make it required. Okay, so you've got different choices that way. The 3 dots on the side allow you to add additional sub-questions under with branching, but due to the sake of how much time we have, we're going to go ahead and add one more, okay? And on this one, we'll do a multiple choice. And notice here I've got option 1, option 2. And I can add additional options, right? All right. Now, when I'm done adding my different options, right up here, this is already automatically going to be saved with the entire team, but I have a preview option that I can click on, and this will actually let me go in and see what the form is going to look like. Okay. Also, top right-hand corner, we have an option to see what it looks like on a computer, or what if one of my team members wants to look at it in the Teams mobile app? I can see how it would work on a cell phone. And obviously it's a little bit different on Android and Apple, but you can see that the form is going to run in a very similar way. All right. So now I'm actually seeing what it's going to look like. Now I want to kind of switch gears for just a minute and now talk about what if I want my team to be able to not have an entire form to fill out, but just respond to a quick survey. Okay, and there are different ways in Microsoft to do this, but Microsoft suddenly realized that forms was a really good starting place. This is fairly new, so there are still a few glitches that I'm going to warn you about when we do this. But for this one, I'm going to come right here to the go to market plan inside my Market project team. And I'd like to add a posting here about when people would like to attend virtual meetings. So I've clicked down here at the bottom to start a new posting in the channel of my team. And then I'm going to come down here to the 3 dots on the formatting toolbar at the bottom. When I click on those 3 dots, you'll notice that one of the options that I can add actually into a posting is a form, but I want you to think of this as more of a poll than a form. So I'm going to click on Forms, and it actually opens up a little poll area where I can come in and I can create a new poll. Now notice I can't name it, I'm just going to type in a question. Okay, so it's just something we're posting to everyone. We'll do one more. And notice you could give them the option to do multiple answers. We're not going to, okay? Then I'm going to click on Next. We're going to see what it looks like. So this is a preview of what everyone's going to see. And then I will send it to my post. So everyone in my channel will be able to see this. Okay, so once it gets posted, you'll see a couple of things. First of all, it lets everybody see what it looks like. And then underneath, we're seeing people's responses. So as different team members come in and start responding, and I'll show you what it looks like for Nestor. If we go into our buddy Nestor, he is a member of this team as well. So on Nestor's end, if he goes down to that very same, again, channel, he's basically seeing the same thing. And if he comes in and say, for example, he submits a vote, which he just did, and then he clicks on submit vote, when our buddy Megan comes back in, okay, once everything updates, we'll have her submit a vote as well. We will be able to start seeing the different submissions come in. So again, this is not something where you're covering it up. This is letting the entire team see what's going on. Now, a couple of downsides to this. Number one, you would think because Megan posted this, which right here she did, normally she should be able to come to the three dots and delete it. Unfortunately, that is a bug in the software. There's some things you can do in the admin center to add some PowerShell stuff to take these out, but right now there is no delete option. Therefore, it is on the user voice site. That's Microsoft's customer interface site for Teams to get that added. It's getting quite a few votes right now, but it's a glitch in the software. It's difficult to delete these out of this post area. So you may want to hold off on doing them, or if you do one, be careful, because if you mess up, you can't get rid of it. Okay, that's one caveat I saw. Also, if Megan wants to get notified about how people are answering to her form, she's actually going to have to do that from the channel options of her team. So what she's going to do is actually come to the three dots on the side of the channel for that particular channel where she posted that poll, and she's going to come down and go to connectors. This is a little bit of a rat maze. Once she gets into her connectors, you can see how it's loading. Right here, it's showing me that I can configure that form. And what we're saying is configure the notifications. So here we're seeing who would get notified, okay? And then underneath, we're also seeing what group we would like to get those notifications. And it's the Mark 8 conference ideas that I'd like to get those notifications for, okay? So it's a little bit weird how you get into some of the backside stuff. I definitely think this is an area that Microsoft will continue to add new helps for in the future. And again, don't forget that right inside of Teams, when it comes to forms and planner and meetings, we did talk about this last time, but down in the bottom left-hand corner is the help. And I will show you here that if I go to that help button, and I come right up here to topics and say, for example, I type in Microsoft Forms for the item that I'm looking for help on, you will see that it does immediately take me in, and it's first of all giving me options for a poll, which is what we were just doing by posting it in the channels area, how to create the polls, and it takes me through all the same content that we just looked at, okay? Also an option to go to the user voice site and find out what new things Microsoft is going to add to that. So my big takeaway at this point is know that this is a fairly new area in Teams, and Microsoft is realizing that they need to amp up some of the use cases with forms. But here's the other thing. Remember that this is a very simple tool. It's not made to be a very in-depth custom-built form. It's made to be fast, easy to build, and easy to access. It's not going to replace other form building tools like InfoPath. In fact, InfoPath's being replaced with SharePoint Online. So it's not going to replace those things. It's made for quick and easy form building, right? It's not made to be a big custom form that you're going to have millions of people fill out. It's not made for that, okay? Now, the big takeaway, the three main things we looked at, really, when it comes to customizing your team, the capability to bring stuff in on these custom tabs. And the two that we really focused on, and I think they're some of the funnest and easiest ones to use, are Planner, by bringing it in on a tab like I showed you. And additionally, we also looked at bringing in a form. Now, the last thing I want to finish up with is, if you remember, I told you that our recording of our meeting would get posted to that channel. And so I want to show you what that looks like. If we come back into, and I have to remember which one it's on. So guys, I apologize. Well, I remember where I actually posted that meeting. Just a second. So let me show you the meeting again, just for my own brain. It was the M600 updates meeting. Remember, we recorded this meeting, and it's actually getting posted into the sales and marketing channel. Sorry about that. I couldn't remember. Sales and marketing team. So now when we go back to the sales and marketing team and look at the general channel, this is what it looks like when that that meeting is finished recording. It actually gets posted right here into the posts area of the channel where we ask the team to be notified about it. And now we can actually click on the video recording and it will play right inside of Microsoft Teams. But remember, it's actually stored in Stream. So everything we did from the screen sharing, all the verbiage that went on, everything is being stored here. Isn't that cool? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. The other thing I want you to see is, remember, we demoed meeting notes during that meeting that we just had. Notice what's been added as a tab at the top of my channel now. When I click on this, we're going to see those meeting notes that I started during that M600 meeting. So everything does still exist outside the meeting, the video recording, the meeting notes, it's still here and accessible to the team and the channel where that meeting was originally invested. Okay, we only have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share and get us back in. And we do want to have some time for Q&A, but I also want to just invite Darren to come in and give us some wrap up. And first of all, thank everybody for being here. Darren, anything you want to share as we get ready to wrap up?
You know, we just really appreciate everybody joining. I know that we're limited here on time. We will continue to take questions past the hour. There's several that are in here that I think are important to go over. So if you're able to stick around, that would be great. If not, we will also have the recording available after the presentation, and we can send you the link so that you can hear the questions that you may have missed if you have a conflict. But with that, also we are doing a session 1 a week from today, next Friday. We'll be doing our session 1 again. It was met with a lot of great comments and review, and something that if you're new to Teams or would like to go over some of those basic meeting aspects, it's a really good presentation to hear. So we'll be doing that, but we'll go to questions now.
All right, guys, I'm still here. And the last thing that I am going to just say, really appreciate everybody being here, and also to Aubrey for being our question extraordinaire. These are some sites that review everything that we did during the session. I'm going to post these into the chat for anybody that wants them. The very top one is, these are all Microsoft, by the way. So this is all Microsoft stuff. The first one is for newbies to Teams. So it's going to really go over a lot of the content that we covered last time. The second one is just good review on how to manage virtual meetings in Teams. The third one's about Planner, and the fourth one's about Forms. So you could go into sorry, my brain just stopped working, into the chat and get that if you'd like it. So that was the other thing I just wanted to mention to everybody. And then contact information for myself and Darren as well. After we're done, if you want to reach out, we'd love to hear from you guys, and a huge thank you to everybody for taking time out to be here. And now I'm going to answer some questions, because it looks like we've had quite a few, which is fantastic. And I'm kind of going up just to see what we've got here.
So the first one we have starts with Todd, and he asked if we know anything more about there being more than 4 participant videos on the screen at a time.
Okay, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. So I don't have a timeline on this one. What I heard from a friend, don't you guys love that, whose husband works for Microsoft up in Seattle, is that they're going to try to add a 9, like a Brady Bunch look, in the coming year, but I've not heard a timeline on that. So great question. I haven't heard any updates from that, but that was about 2 weeks ago that my friend told me that. So that is something. Now, one suggestion I can make, everybody, if you're interested in kind of finding out what new stuff is on board, or what stuff is coming up, and I'll just do this inside of our buddy Megan's computer again really fast, just to remind everybody that down in the bottom left hand corner, if you go to the help menu, you can actually come in here and go to a thing called Suggestive Feature. This will take you to Microsoft's user voice site for Teams, and this is where you can actually vote on different features you want inside of Teams, and you can actually see what's getting the most votes, and the stuff that gets the most votes is at the top of the development stack. So it's kind of an interesting site to go to. Additionally, another thing thing inside of Teams that you can do is go from the help menu to what's new. This isn't going to show you the stuff that's up and coming. It's going to show you the stuff that they just launched in Teams that's been made public to the government tenant. Remember, not to the government tenant, sorry, to the commercial tenant. Government is always going to be delayed by sometimes a couple of months to a year between commercial and government. So any of you that work for the state or are with the federal government, just know that those features are always a little bit behind due to security, which is a good thing. We want you guys to be safe. We want everything to be secure. So, sorry, Aubrey. Okay, back to the ranch, right?
Awesome. So if you want to use an app in the meeting, but the other people don't have that app on their end, will it still work, or will they have to download and add that app?
Yeah, that's a good question. They would have to have that app on their device. Now, you could screen share it with them in a meeting, but if they don't have it, they'd have to download it if they want to use it on their own, right? So yeah, if they want to be able to use it outside of when you're showing it to them, they'd have to be able to download it. And that's a good question because, like, if you look at, like, if we're here in Megan's and we were to add something here, another thing to realize with a lot of these different applications that you can bring into Teams, you would need licensing for a lot of these. So separate from Microsoft, you would have to have the licensing to access them, even if you bring them into Teams. So that is a good question.
Awesome. Our next question is, what if the person doesn't have Teams that you want to invite to the meeting?
Oh, it's a great question. So remember that when you go in and you're in the calendar and you're creating that calendar invite, and it doesn't matter if you're in Outlook or Teams, the great thing is when you create that calendar invite, if you send them that email like we looked at by emailing it to their email address, your Teams application is going to recognize that it's external to your team and to your organization. That doesn't matter because external parties can still join your Teams meetings even if they're not part of your organization. What will happen is when they get that meeting invite, it will have that link, much like what you see when you go into your Outlook calendar and you look at a meeting invite. This link right here will appear in their email and they'll be able to click on it and it will have them join your meeting via the web browser version of Teams, which is free, by the way. They don't need to have Teams installed on their device, and they would still be able to participate in your meeting, see all the shared screens, be able to participate on audio. And if for some reason they don't even have internet, depending on your organization, sometimes you also have a call-in number where they could call in and just participate via audio. But again, you have to make sure that your company offers that as part of Teams. Not all organizations do. Okay.
Awesome. Can you manually disconnect the person from a meeting?
Yeah, that's a good question. Usually you can. So when you're in a meeting, and I'll just show you this really fast. If we were to go into, let's see here, there should be an option if you are the organizer of the meeting, when you go into that meeting, and I'm just going to go to this one really fast, that you will have an option to remove an individual from that meeting. So say, for example, I go into the meeting and join, and I'm not really per se going to be able to demo this a lot, but I can point you to the place where you can see this because right now Megan's the only one in her meeting. But when she comes in, if someone here was in the meeting and I didn't want them to, I could click on the three dots at the side and there would be an option for me to remove from meeting. So in my case, you can't see it right now, but that's where you would go and you could actually send them out. Usually, I think you have to be an organizer in the meeting to do that. Okay, the person that actually created the meeting or have someone escalate you to being an organizer. It's like an owner of the meeting, but then you can oust people if they're being obnoxious.
Awesome. And can you also show us in the ellipse menu where you can end the meeting?
Yep. So right here, when you click on the ellipses, is that what you're talking about? And then end meeting? Yep. Definitely. Yeah, remember that ellipses in a meeting is really critical because a lot of the really good stuff is in that menu.
Is Planner already included in Microsoft Office Pro or is it a separate app?
Nope, it's included. If you have even the lowest licensing with Office 365 Planner, should be one of your apps. And it's already part of the package. You don't have to pay more for it.
Awesome. Can you import a Trello board?
Yeah, I think you can. So I haven't actually done this, but I know I've worked with people that have. So when it comes to Trello, when you go to this is one of the ways you can come here. And remember, here at the top, when you're adding an app, you can actually bring, you type it, and then you can bring Trello in. And of course, you would need licensing for it, right? And it would allow you to bring in, I don't exactly know what parts, but I'm pretty sure it will allow you to bring in a board. I notice here it's asking me to log in. So I'd already have to be a member of Trello and have the licensing, but then it would add it onto my tab for my whole team to see.
Awesome. Can form replies be anonymous if they need to be?
That is a great question. It depends. Within Teams, no, because when you put it on a tab in Teams, like we did here for our for this one, it's part of the team, right? So you're going to know what the replies are. But there is a way to create forms where they are anonymous. Yes, and in that case, I'm pretty sure if you go into the forms settings, it will allow you to right here. You'll notice that you can decide. You know, in this case, it's set up to only people in my organization, but I could say anyone with the link, right? And then as I scroll down, and sorry, it's kind of getting covered up, in the settings of the form, I'm pretty sure there's a way to go in and set up so that you can make it anonymous. But when you put it into the team, by default, it's going to be set up so that it's being responded to by people of your team. So it's not anonymous by default. You have to go in and change that.
Awesome. And is there a way to reply directly in a Teams chat on desktop like you can on the mobile app?
To
in
reply.
the chat, I'm guessing is.
So say it again really quick. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I understand.
In the Teams chat during a virtual meeting, is there a way that you can reply directly to someone?
No, so that's a really good question. If you're in a meeting, it automatically posts that chat to everybody. So like say right here, I'm in a meeting, we'll have Megan join a meeting again. When she goes into a meeting, the chat that's part of the meeting automatically goes to everybody, right? So if she comes into this meeting and then she starts a chat, it's automatically going to go to everyone in the meeting when she opens up this chat pane, right? This is everybody. So the way to be able to just have it be with an individual who's in the meeting is to actually come up here and open up a new chat field and send them a chat outside of the meeting, right? So I could say, okay, Adele's in the meeting, but I'm going to send her a chat. That's not a feature that's built in yet, the ability to actually individually chat. Maybe that will come, but I haven't heard anything on that one yet. So I'm still in the meeting, but I'm sending Adele a chat, and it will be separate from the meeting, and it will just be between Megan and Adele, right? But the meeting's still going on up here, but I could go ahead and chat separately with Adele while I'm still in my meeting, and no one else would see it.
Awesome. And real quick, just to answer some of the questions, if you go to our website, ZAACT.com, ZAACT.com, and then in the footer, there is an events link. If you go there, there's the event from last week, and our video from last week is in that event at this time. Later, it'll probably be distributed other places on our website, but right now, that's where you can find it if you're looking for last week's video. And then someone wants to know how to create a custom background like I have.
Great question. So for that one, we're going to post a link into the chat for that. We can't actually demo that in the demo environments because I don't have I can't show that. I can't show video in my demo environment, but here's where you're going to go to do it. You're going to go to a meeting, whatever meeting, and actually you can also go up to the top right-hand corner and you can go to your settings, and then, and I might be wrong on this, but when you go down to devices, you've got your camera right here. This is where you set up your camera. And then to get to those again, and I'll show you here at least the beginning of it. When you go to your meeting, and I'm just going to show what it would look like when you're actually in the meeting, at least the beginning part, what you would look for is when you click on the three dots. And again, you're not going to exactly see it here, and we'll post a link on this. Right here near the turn on live preview, you're actually going to see a little option. It looks like a rectangle with waves inside of it. And that's where you go to actually select those custom backgrounds. And really quickly here, I'm going to actually turn off my screen share for a second. I'm going to go find you a link on that. Now to get the custom backgrounds, like I don't know if you guys have seen with Aubrey, how she has the ZAACT Consulting behind her, those kinds of custom backgrounds. You kind of have to do a little bit of a hack for that, but you can do that. Microsoft about 2 weeks ago just barely turned this feature on, and they have pre-made backgrounds that you can select, or you can also actually kind of from the backside bring in some of your own. And I'm going to bring in a link on this that you guys can use to again bring in your own, but it's not something we can demo in here, unfortunately. This will be a Microsoft link, and it will take you to their website, and then you can get into that from there. So for anybody that's interested in doing that, it is a great tool because nobody wants to see your unmade bed, right? So there you go.
Awesome. Okay, and then our last question is, how do you access the results of a form survey?
Yeah, so great question. Inside, if it's inside the team, remember we're kind of speaking to this, the results are actually stored in an Excel spreadsheet inside your Files tab. So let me just show you again in Megan, kind of where you're going to find that stuff. It'll take me just 1 minute. We're going to get back into old Megan there, our buddy. So here I am on Megan's computer. So if we go back to that form that we created just a little while ago in the, I have to remember here, the go-to-market plan, if you remember, we created a, sorry guys, I'm trying to remember where I put it. Lots of fun stuff here. Where did I put that one? I wanted to show it to you. Here we go. If you remember, we created this form right here called the virtual conferences, right? Where we were asking people about attending the virtual conferences. And notice right here, I have an edit tab that allows me to get in and edit that. The thing to know is that the responses are actually stored in the channel right next to it, right? So when I click on the responses tab, I'd see a little dashboard letting me see those responses. The actual responses, once people start responding to it, are going to be stored in the Files tab of my channel in an Excel spreadsheet. We don't see it yet because it hasn't had anything put into it, but it will actually be stored in the SharePoint document library that's part of this team and part of this channel. So once people start answering it, that's where it actually ends up, is in an Excel spreadsheet stored here on this part of the team. But right now there's nothing there yet because no one started answering anything in my form. It's still brand new. Okay.
Awesome. So that is it for our questions.
Oh, great. We got lots of good ones. Hey, thank you everybody for being here. Again, we did post a link about the background effects. I'm sorry I can't demo it in here, but it's one of the downsides of the virtual environments that we use. And thanks again for being here. Remember, the recordings will be on the website. Here's the last question. It says, how can someone react to my comment in a meeting chat? When you open up the chat pane, is there a way to react? Sure. What you want to do is hover over the person's question. Great question, Renee. And then you'll see 3 dots on the right-hand side, and that little acknowledgements toolbar has everything with a heart to the thumbs up, just like you would see in the posts of a channel where you can react with the thumbs up, or also you can give it the wow face, right? You can respond that way instead of doing the thank you or all that stuff. I love the thumbs up. So you can do that very same thing in the chat of a meeting as you can in chats or in posts. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We really hope this has helped. Remember, you can share those recordings from the ZAACT Consulting website. That's what this is for, is to help everybody. And we really just want everyone to be moving forward. The great news is that life is going to continue. And even though Teams has been a have to for a lot of you, we hope that it continues to be a get to and not so much an absolute must, but it's something that we can continue to use even after this pandemic is over. But in the meantime, be safe and be healthy. And thanks again for being here. We really hope this was helpful. And thank you to Aubrey and also to Darren for their help with hosting the event. Have a great day, everybody.